We have one other baseball item here. Let's run through the baseball notebook.
Yeah, here we go. All-Star Game to kick it off.
The rosters have been named. 19 first-timers. I mean, we have a wave of really good young players on the All-Star team. And I always look at the list just of the hot young players. Peter Crow-Armstrong of the Cubs, a bright young outfielder, he stands out.
Oh, yeah.
That kid's earned it because what he's done in just over a year plus in Major League Baseball. But I also look at the list of guys who earned their way on and deserve this coming back from adversity. Jacob deGrom, I think he's 8-2 in Texas. You know, he spent 3 years in rehab. Former New York Mets ace. They didn't know if he'd ever pitch again, ever be what he was. He's in the All-Star game. Maybe winds up being an American League starter. Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd is one of the frontline guys for the first-place Chicago Cubs. He got hurt. He was in Detroit. They let him go. He was in Seattle. Let him go. Cleveland let him go. I wanted the Padres to sign him because I saw him pitch at the end of last season, and he had electric stuff, and I thought, wow, I think he's back because he was a hot prospect. Padres did not get him. Cubs brought him in. He's one of the aces of the first-place Chicago Cubs. He's made the All-Star team representing the National League. And, of course, James Wood. If I bring that name up, does that cause heartburn at Petco Park within the
Woulda,
Padres?
coulda, shoulda.
James Wood. He, like Peter Armstrong, is PCA. He's going to be in the All-Star game representing the Washington Nationals. And the interesting one is Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh's got 35 home runs at the midway point of the baseball season. He'd always had some pop in Seattle. He didn't hit for great average. Occasionally he'd launch one. He's got 35 home runs this season. I mean, he is making the Mariners a team to watch. Guys that don't deserve to be there, I think Fernando should step away. I don't know how Julio Rodriguez gets a player's vote as a reserve, except on past reputation from 3 years ago. His last 2 seasons, the Mariners outfielders hitting the 220s. He had got an occasional home run, but not the same player right now, and he hasn't had a good batting order around him. So that's fascinating. Comment on the All-Star game?
You know, it seems to me that when I was a kid, there were certain guys that were in the All-Star team every single year. Like you'd have like 10, 15, 18-year All-Stars.
The Brooks Robinson theory.
Yeah, but it seems like lately, every year, they're sort of in and out, new guys, and you get guys like Machado that make it and then don't make it, and you think Machado's a Hall of Famer. He should be one of those 12, 15 consecutive year guys.
Well, the fans' votes got something to do with it. I might be old school, but, you know, those guys on TV asking the fans, vote early, vote often, 5 times a day. I don't think that's fair. But anyhow, there's some ballot box stuffing that's gone on. You know, one other name I'd mention that accolades to Clayton Kershaw. How about that? Coming off double surgery, he's still unbeaten for the Dodgers. He is going to the All-Star game at age 37. And who's not? Well, Mookie Betts has been banged up, hasn't been quite the player of the first half for the Dodgers he's been the last couple of years. He's not in it. And Juan Soto, Mr. Met, Mr. Me, Myself, and I, not voted to the All-Star game. And again, his batting average has been in the 240s and in a long period of time without hitting a home run. Now he's hit a couple home runs in the last week or so.
Question for you. What do you think of the rule of every team gets a representative? Do you think that that's a good rule or they should change it?
I think there's got to be somebody good representing every team. They've increased the roster. Now, that had to do with pitching wear and tear. At one point, it was 25, then it became 26. Now they're up to 32 guys. And if you have injuries between now and the All-Star game or guys can't pitch, there'll be more than 32 in the dugout because teams can add on. That's why I'm hoping Nick Pivetta gets an add-on phone call to come be part of that. So there'll be more than 32 guys in that American and National League dugout. The other thing that's cool, we'll talk more about this because I was going to say you're the fashion plate, but not dressed like that. But I love the idea they're getting rid of these specialty uniforms, and everybody's going to wear their home uniforms and their road uniforms.
Bravo,
Yay.
finally.
The colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that.
That's better.
Okay, that's all things All-Star game. You got an opinion? Feel free to jump on board. Let's talk about the story in Cleveland. Here's the depth story involving young pitcher Lou Ortiz of the Cleveland Guardians. Major League Baseball's removed him from the active roster. He is the focal point of a gambling investigation. Baseball security has agreements with casinos and DraftKings and FanDuel. that if anything out of the ordinary happens as it relates to a game, as it relates to a player, they get alerts. Well, MLB security got alerts. There are 2 games that Lou Ortiz of Cleveland, starting pitcher, pitched in which a volume of bets were placed in the first inning of a leadoff hitter in which Ortiz was pitching. And the bets had to do with, would it be a pitch that was a wild pitch or a pitch that hit a batter? And in 2 instances in which there was this volume of betting that came in at the last minute, Ortiz threw a wild pitch and Ortiz beaned a guy.
Really?
Leadoff hitter, first pitch of the game. That's why Ortiz is under investigation. Now,
Interesting.
will they prove that Ortiz was linked with people that were making massive bets and made big money on the paydays because first pitch, wild pitch, first pitch, hit the leadoff guy, and that's what they were betting on, and Ortiz did it?
You could bet on anything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why Ortiz is not there right now. Washington Nationals. Once upon a time, they were good. They had a cadre of really good young players. Steven Strasburg, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, and they traded for people. Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, the architect of all that, and they did get to a World Series. Mike Rizzo, fired. 37-53 this season, he's out. Has been with the organization since 2009, general manager since 2013. He was axed last night in the aftermath of them getting blown out 3 straight by the Boston Red Sox. Also, manager Dave Martinez, he was executed too. Now, his managerial skills came into question about handling of young players and pitching, etc., and the fact that Rizzo just gave him a vote of confidence this past week. Martinez 2 weeks ago has said this bad season, this 37-53 is not on us, it's on the players. So Rizzo is gone. Martinez is gone. The bigger issue to me, and I like Rizzo, I think he's got great track record and credentials. I think the bigger issue is the Lerner ownership cut off the funding for the team. Much lower payroll. That's why they lost Harper. That's why Rendon left. They gave a mega contract to Strasburg, who completely broke down. His career ended very prematurely. But this, to a degree, is on the Lerner family. You want to own it, run it correctly, and fund it correctly. And I don't think in the last 4 to 5 years, Mike Rizzo's been given the checking account and the checkbook to make the acquisitions he needs. They got a lot of good young players, but you can't win with all good young kids. You know, obviously, C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, thank you, San Diego, for the Soto trade, but there just was not been enough in the bank account for Rizzo to actually make acquisitions from the outside to complement them. So keep an eye on that. Last one is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Does the word fire sale mean anything to you at this hour? There are rumors everywhere that Pittsburgh, which is just wretched, is shopping Mitch Keller, one of their top pitching stars, Brian Reynolds, the outfielder, their ace closer, David Bednar, and their veteran third baseman, Gold Glove type kid in Brian Hayes. They're going to, before the deadline, maybe move all of them in transactions and inherit a lot of good young players. But at the end of the day, ownership has been so shoddy in terms of player acquisitions, not doing much in free agents. And now you're going to trade 2 guys, 3 guys. You're going to trade 4 guys of this team that could help other teams in pennant races. Unless you have the opinion, okay, we trade 4 and we get 8 or 9 or 10 guys back, or prospects that we think we can put around Paul Skeens and some of the others. So, John, go ahead. We talked about the All Star Game. Talk about Cleveland, Washington, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the Nationals is a weird one, isn't it? I mean, you've been seeing all these highlights of James Wood and C.J. Abrams lighting it up, Mackenzie Gore having great starts, and then you wonder why in the hell aren't the Nationals doing better? You know, so it's funny. You think of Rizzo. Whenever I hear the last name Rizzo, I always think of who was the woman that was on the Grease. You know, that was the sidekick to Olivia Newton-John, and then the other Rizzo were the Jerky Boys. You ever heard of the Jerky Boys? They're like crank callers.
I told you, don't take this podcast on a tangent.
Well, it's funny. I
You
just
always
think when I
wind
hear
up in
the
the
word
gutter.
Rizzo, I just think of that. Well,
I thought you
anyways,
were going to reference Anthony Rizzo.
well, him too. Yeah.
Or Rico Razzo from the movie with John Voight. What was that? Oh, see, you started this now about the cowboy.
The Urban Cowboy? Is that the one he was in?
No. I told you don't go on a tangent. You went on a tangent. I apologize that John has taken your podcast off the road. Okay, reel it back
And we're
in.
talking about Jell-O and walking the dog in Alpine. Okay, so anyways, I was surprised that the Nationals weren't doing better, So, it makes you wonder, like, I'm going to switch gears to the Pirates too, because it's a similar situation where they have a lot of really good young talent. The team is not going anywhere. The Pirates would be idiots for like trading away young stars that they have under contract. They still haven't hit free agency. I mean, Mitch Keller is probably on a reasonable deal. And then, who was the other one? Well, Cabrian Hayes has been a kind of a disappointment, hasn't he?
At bat. Glove has been fine. Bednar was a solid closer, but has had rocky times. Reynolds is having a lousy offensive season and played well prior, but he's got a lot of money on his contract. Somebody might take him and say, okay, change of scenery would help him. So if you trade those 4 guys and you get 9 guys back, but are they going to be the right 9 guys?
No. And then meanwhile, Paul Skeens is going to be really angry. I mean, he just figures he's in a dump right now. That's not fair to him.
So that's where we are. All things baseball, despite the fact my co-host just tried to take this thing back down the driveway. Rico Razzo, John Voight. What the hell was that movie? It was not Urban Cowboy. That was with John Travolta. One of our viewers knows this.
Yeah, I know.
The title of this movie. It was very famous, very popular. You asked me too quick.
No, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the movie poster.
I put these glasses on and my brain just doesn't function very well. Anyhow, that's where we are. Okay. One last topic before we get